Welcome back, everyone. This is episode number 47. This is Discussing Who, and if you are listening to us right now, we are live on Facebook, but if you're listening to us on iTunes or whatever you might be listening to us on, then you're probably not listening to us on Facebook. So, but welcome back. This is, like I said, episode 47, and before I even introduce myself, I want to say, if you've listened to episode number 46 and even a little bit of episode number 45, just want to announce at the moment that Gleary has been laid to rest. Gleary has left the building. Gleary has exited stage left, because as I was talking to the guys before we got started, I said that story in 46 alone 4 different times. So Gleary has left the building. But with that out of the way...
I think the good point is we finally have something to replace Batman v Superman. So let's just run with it.
Okay, I give you that. I absolutely give you that. And the funny thing was, even as I'm sitting there listening, I'm going on and on and on, and I'm listening, and I'm like, okay, it was funny, but it really wasn't that funny. Oh my God, he's telling it again. So for anybody listening to 46, just know that it was oxygen depraved. I had no oxygen. I was in space. I lost oxygen. I didn't lose my I didn't lose my sight or anything like that. Didn't lose my hearing. None of that happened. But I just lost a little bit of cognitive ability and just started babbling the same story over and over and over and over again. So Gleary gone, but who's not gone is Clarence Brown. Hey, Clarence.
Hey, Cal. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Doing good. Glad to be on for another episode.
Absolutely glad, and glad to have you back. And also glad to be back with us, I hope, is Mr. It is not Mr. Clarence Brown. It is Mr. Lee Shackelford.
But you flatter me. Yeah, I'm back.
Well, hello back. How are you?
Yeah.
So do you have enough oxygen in your tank?
I believe so, yes. I have at least 2,000 breaths.
Well, that might make us through this episode. So as you can, refill, buy some more, steal some more, barter some more, however you want to do it, just as long as we get through this.
Expensive stuff, that is.
Yeah.
Capitalism in space.
So let me ask you, Clarence, I know we are live on Facebook, but, since we are live, I want to ask a question. It is telling me as I'm watching this on Facebook, something went wrong. We're having trouble playing this video. Should I refresh?
I have no idea. I don't see it on my end.
All right. So let's see what happens.
Because it's not a video.
All right, so let's just see what happens. And I think it was on my end. There you go.
There you go.
All right. So, like I said, we're live. And that's, kind of the beauty of being, I suppose, live. So,
yeah. This is going to have a little less polish, perhaps, than some other show.
Exactly. We can just, kind of blame it on Gleary.
Yeah.
So
Stop talking about it.
True. Well, what we can't stop talking about is the fact that we are in a live season of Doctor Who, and we are actually in episode 5, or just finished up episode 5. So, Lee, off the top of your head, how did you like it?
I loved it. I had some of the listeners to this show know that I am in the midst of writing what I guess is season 2 of my outer space drama. So there were parts of Oxygen where I was going, oh no, don't do that, because that's what I'm going to do. Oh no. Yeah. But I do not have a zombie corpses being carried around by their suits. In my show, so.
Got you.
Yeah, but we are leaving the ship in Relativity. We are going outside.
Oh wow!
So
that's exciting.
So that's then that's what I was working on, and I said, okay, I better stop so I can go watch Doctor Who. Oh, they're going outside. No. Anyway, But no, it's a taut thriller and a lot of new dimensions to characters. We've been saying how much we like the idea of sort of the crowded TARDIS. We want to see an adventure with Bill and Nordahl, and we finally got it, really.
Yeah.
And with both of them as sort of the angel and devil on the Doctor's shoulders. And I liked that a lot. What about you?
You know what? I actually thought it was a very good episode, to be honest with you. And before we go further, I kind of jumped ahead of our news section because I was actually so into this particular episode. So let me say, for anybody that has listened, you know what's coming next. And if you've not watched Oxygen yet, which is episode 5, series 10, Doctor Who, put us on pause. We're not going anywhere. Go watch it. Come back and start listening again, because from henceforth, spoilers.
Spoilers. Affirmative. Spoilers. Spoilers. Affirmative. Spoilers.
So that's out of the way. So
unless you're on the live feed, in which case it's too late. So.
It's too late. All right. So let me ask you, Clarence. Just off the top, how did you enjoy it?
Oh man, I absolutely love this episode. I think it kind of echo a lot of the sentiments I think Nordahl was saying the Doctor had. You want to go to space, don't you? And that's kind of how I am. I think I always enjoy the episodes where they're off Earth, and this was just another case where I really, really enjoyed this semi-zombie like episode. And we just mentioned it, the importance of air as a commodity. And I mean, even from the opening words, I just really enjoyed this episode, and I thought it was a lot of fun. My favorite of the series so far. What about you, Cal?
I really did, and I actually thought about you, Lee, when we started the very first few seconds of the episode, and it starts out with space, the final frontier.
So good.
Always wanted to hear Peter Capaldi say that.
So what did you think about the tagline after the final frontier of what he said? Where he goes into final because it wants to kill us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's very, very true. I always enjoy a talk where any voice of authority reminds us that most of the universe really wants us dead, to the extent that it wants anything. Space is an incredibly hostile place to be.
Yeah. And
it was, so for fans of The Martian, that was good. Apollo 13, any other story like that, where it just reminded that a lot of our sci-fi and fantasy makes it look like being out in space is easy, and it's not. It's never going to be. It's yeah. So I like that.
I want to go back to the opening sequence, and I want to ask you guys a question, and it's something that, I'll be honest with you, as much as I pay attention to the differences in the opening sequences, that has never been noticed by me before. So I've got a question. After the gears, because, we start now with, for the last, 3 or 4 years with the Capaldi's era, we've got the gears at the very beginning. Then
the titles.
And the what now?
In the title sequence,
yes, in the title sequence. Yeah. So when we've got the title sequence coming out, and you see the gears, and you see that, then you see this, I don't want to say twirling, but rounding, of these Roman numerals. What do you see the Roman numerals as being? Is it a device? Is it what? What do you guys see that as being?
I have to say, I pay very little attention to the opening sequence. Most times I don't even watch it. I get up and go do something while it's playing. So yeah, I don't. I mean, I just know those same symbols are in the actual TARDIS, in the ceiling of the TARDIS itself, I believe. But no, I didn't really get anything else out of it. What about you guys?
Lee, I want to ask you before I go and give my thoughts.
Well, I'm always a big fan of a really stylish title sequence, in TV shows or in big screen motion pictures. It's something that I always I feel like is an art unto itself, and I always appreciate when it's well done. And God knows we've gotten a lot of different title sequences on Doctor Who, and some of them have not been interesting to look at to me. But from the very beginning, they were mood setting. They were there to let you know that you're about to see something that isn't like what you see in the rest of the real world. And as soon as Peter Capaldi's time on the show began, we started very consciously using these clock faces, and I have assumed that one of the reasons why we can now really employ that image is because it's got a big 12 on the top. So you get the number 12, and then you get his face. And I have, always assumed that was sort of graphically what that team is going for.
Very interesting to me that you picked up on that, because for as many times as I have watched it, and you guys know me well enough to know by now that I watch things over and over and over, I have never picked up on the 12 being at the top, and I instantly thought it was a clock, and then I was told earlier, who's to say that that's just, who's to say that's a clock? Because I said, well, this can't stay around when we get the 13th Doctor. It's going to look different. And I was told, no, it could be, it's not necessarily a clock.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
That's right. But it also obviously is. I mean, we're all conditioned to see a 12-hour clock with a big 12 on top of it. So, it just sort of is what it is. Maybe next year we'll have a military clock.
And that was, okay, weird. That was the next thing I was told was, well, there's a such thing as military time. And I was like,
exactly. Most of the world uses it. Yeah, that'll take us up through 23. That'll
and
that'll hold us for a while.
And we'll be on. Welcome back to episode number 445. Yeah,
that's right.
In whatever year that might be.
Yeah.
All right. So, what I found interesting about this particular episode was we had an opportunity last week to be in a room and listen to the person who actually wrote this week's, episode. So I'm going to go back just a little bit and recap some of what Jamie said, and about how the writing process goes. So here's my first question: Did having the ability to get insight from the writer attach you more to this episode? Attach you less? Did it make a difference, or what? Either anybody.
Personally, I think it attached me a bit more. Even when he was just kind of giving a brief synopsis of what the episode would be, which we mentioned, as a writer, he knows is going to be very different from his initial pitch. Even from that, I got really excited about this episode, and I was really anticipating it, especially after last week's episode, where I just didn't feel it, I guess. So I was really, really looking forward to this one now. And I guess it kind of made last week's episode seem much worse than maybe it actually was, because I was so excited about his pitch and so ready to see this episode. And yeah, I think it did form a bit of an attachment for me. But that being said, I think I would have enjoyed it regardless of hearing him or not. What about you guys?
Lee, what do you think?
Yeah, I would certainly have enjoyed it whether I'd heard Jamie Mathieson talking about it or not. And and honestly, while watching the show, I forgot that we had just been hearing the screenwriter talk about it a little before, because as we were discussing at the con, I know as a writer that between the page and the screen, things change a lot, and so I wonder what Jamie Mathison's experience of watching it was, because sometimes you're pointing at the screen going, "Hey, what is that? What's going on there?" But I got to agree with Clarence. I really wanted to enjoy Knock Knock a lot more than I did, But when the day is done, I'm not going to have any trouble forgetting that episode.
Yeah.
But my favorite part of Knock Knock was the teaser for Oxygen, and so seriously, so I was so I was there this week. It's like, okay, bring it.
Yeah.
So.
And it doesn't hurt that it was like a very strong story, even without, like Clarence said, you kind of forget, or you both said, you kind of forget that we were actually, interacting somewhat with the writer of this episode. But I'll tell you another lesson that that I think indirectly ties to the episode, and it goes back to my comment of meeting him and having that listening to him talk. It goes back to how you conduct yourself as a human being, and knowing how sick he was while he was up there interacting with people and still putting on a good face and didn't want people to lose out on the fact of, hey, you paid money and I was one of the people you came to see. I think that in itself, regardless of how good the episode was, also kind of endeared it to you, because it was like, dang it, this guy just seems like a really genuine, nice guy.
Yeah, definitely. It was fantastic hearing him talk. It's just, I probably could have listened to him talk for another hour. He's a really good speaker, presenter, and hearing some of the ins and outs of how these things actually get made was definitely a treat.
And let me share something interesting with you that I noticed, because I think, Lee, last week you called me the keeper of the quotes, and I found plenty of quotes in here, but I found a quote that I actually tied me to something, or realization into something else, and it was actually toward the end of the show, about probably 2/3 of the way through. The doctor says, "I am the doctor. I will do everything within my power to save all of your lives, and when I do, you will spend the rest of your lives wondering who I was and why I helped you." Now, here's my deal. Back in Series 8, I remember saying that pretty much for the first 6 or 8 episodes, I just didn't feel Capaldi. I didn't connect with him. I just wasn't feeling the chemistry between he and Clara, etc., and so forth. However, I remember in Series 8 saying on Podshock that the speech that he had coming out of the TARDIS made me feel like that was the "I am the doctor" speech. And ironically enough, Flatline was written by Jamie Mathieson.
That's right.
So, interesting tie-in. So, kudos to him. Kudos to him.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, and I had said before that one of the reasons I was eager to be in the same room with him and hear what he had to say was because Flatline has been maybe my favorite episode of the whole Clara period. So, and which says a lot because for her, because it gives her so very much to do.
So I got to ask this question, since you said my favorite Clara episode. I would be remiss if I didn't ask our friend Clarence, what was your favorite Clara episode?
Oh man, you put me on the spot. Man, you make me dig deep. I'm not going to say just one. I like, I guess it's cliche, but I liked all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, how did I know you were going to say that? How did I know?
Yeah, ask me what my favorite Sarah Jane is.
All of them.
Any moment she was on screen, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Good. Very good point.
Which is fitting coming from the impossible host. So
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Too true. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to admit, touche.
One of the best things about Flatline is that she's on screen almost the whole episode. So
this is true.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so let's kind of just walk through the episode a little bit. I know we've been jumping around a little bit, but let's actually go, through the episode, and guys, feel free to jump in at any point if you choose to do so. So, we start out, we're obviously, back at the university, and the doctor has sent Nordahl away, but Nordahl has gotten clever enough to figure out, hey, he's trying to leave again, so he comes back. And he says, I was given, but I've got a question here. He says, I was given strict instructions to keep you at the university. And the doctor responds, who by? And the Nordahl says, you. The doctor says, well, you're not doing a very good job of it, are you?
I thought I sent you to Birmingham for a packet of crisps.
Yeah, I saw through your cunning ruse.
Yes, well, if you will go thinking for yourself, what do you want?
I was given strict instructions to keep you at the university.
Who by?
You!
Well, you're not doing a very good job, are you? I'll overlook it this once.
Do you know what this is?
If it's not crisps, you're sacked.
Fluid link K57. Removed it from the TARDIS the other night after your lecture.
That is very untrusting.
You took an oath, sir. The vault cannot be unguarded.
Listen to Mr. Boring.
I'm acting under your orders.
See how reliable I am?
What's a fluid link?
No idea. But the TARDIS can't go anywhere without it.
Who told you that?
You did.
Exactly. What teach you to trust me?
No.
I'm docking your pay for this.
So what's going on? What do you guys think? I mean, that stood out to me. So what do you guys? Did you guys think that odd, or did you? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, we're deliberately being messed with, and it's the big arc of this series, and so the writers have a duty to keep deepening the mystery so that we remember that this is what's going on. I'm serious. You gotta keep getting in there and making it more complicated so that and I love that we're getting sort of breadcrumbs like this. We're sort of getting these things pointed towards whatever the inevitable conclusion is. But yeah, so that does suggest that this is something that the Doctor took on, and it isn't somebody else who told him. It's not the White Guardian or something like that, the Time Lords. This is something that he knows he has to do, but it's also against his will. So that makes it more morally complex, and I find that very interesting.
And right on top of that, and then Clarence, I want to hear your thoughts. The Doctor also says, "What do you want from me?" And Nordahl says, "The truth." And the Doctor says, "Don't be unreasonable."
Yeah.
So Clarence, what do you see anything else going on, or what are you feeling?
I didn't notice it initially, but I guess you're trying to hint at maybe a future version of the Doctor may have came back and gave Nordahl instructions and maybe gave them this mandate to protect the vault or something like that.
I'm not sure. I mean, I know I'm hinting at something, but the caveat there is I don't know what I'm hinting at. Yeah,
it does sound particularly weird, but again, on the point you made about the Doctor lying, and when he talks about the fluid link or whatever it was called, yes. And Nordahl thinks he's being sly by pulling it from the TARDIS, but little does he know, I guess it's not needed. So I thought that was hilarious.
And we have heard reference to the fluid link back in John Pertwee's era. So,
really?
Elaborate. So there really is something that you can take out of the TARDIS and keep it from running. And but yeah, so Nordahl may know that, but what he's got is what he thinks is the fluid link, but it isn't.
Yeah.
So now is the fluid link what the Time Lords took out to keep him stranded when he was in exile?
This may be one of those times where people more knowledgeable than I are shouting at their podcast devices and saying, "No, Lee, you idiot! It's something else." But I do remember a reference to the fluid link before, and I'm thinking that it is the thing that the Third Doctor didn't have, and that's why he was stranded on Earth.
Oh, okay,
interesting.
That makes sense. Yeah, but it definitely seems Nordahl is on his job, even attending class. Where the Doctor, I guess he's supposed to be talking about crop rotation, and he's talking about dying in space. So, another funny thing in this episode.
What is this class he's doing?
Yes, exactly. I mean, is it like random thoughts of death and time and blah, 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 whatever makes sense for this episode?
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing that I found interesting, and I think, well, let me ask this. Are we safe to say at this point that Nordahl is some type of humanoid cyborg or robot or something?
You know what? I would initially say that, but what happens later in this episode leads me to believe maybe not, because I don't want to, get too far ahead, but at that one point when that thing happens to the doctor, you think Nordahl would have been the one to remove his helmet. But
interesting. I didn't even get that. That didn't even occur to me.
There's a lot going on there if you're thinking along those lines, and one of them is this episode presents a problem for us as fans of the classic series, because Fourth Doctor and the Fifth Doctor both spoke about Time Lords having a respiratory bypass, which means that they don't have to breathe sometimes. And the Fifth Doctor actually goes out of the TARDIS without a spacesuit on. And I think a lot of people, maybe at the time, said, "Okay, the show is broken. Now the Doctor is Superman. If he can, so maybe we're gonna kind of retcon this and say, okay, that didn't actually happen that way, but he did. He did. So."
In those cases, was it the field getting extended around the TARDIS, or was it just, or they didn't explain it?
They didn't explain it, and that idea of the TARDIS having sort of a state of grace around it, where you can open the doors and look out while you're in deep space, that's a new series concept too. I think. Am I wrong about that, Kyle?
No, I think you're right. I think
the feeling was always, if you open those doors in flight, the TARDIS would have evacuated and everything in it would have gone outside. I'm pretty sure they established that. Dude, don't open those doors.
Yeah, I think especially I'm picturing maybe the mine robber or something. There was a thing about making sure the doors were shut.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Really?
I'm not sure, but I think.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
It's definitely a convenient device to do cool things, sit out in another space and just open the doors and hang out, Yeah, so I don't know.
Well, but getting back to Nordahl, I got the feeling from the Christmas special that he is just kind of an ordinary schlub who got his head lopped off. And so the question for me is not, where did his head come from? It's, where did this body come from?
All right. Well, I'm going to take you completely in the opposite direction there and say, Excellent. Where did his head come from? Because it says, I haven't seen my true face in years. I swapped it for this one on the run.
That's right. Right.
Just weird.
Very weird.
And then, something else that fell flat for me in this episode was the fact when he referenced to the voice as being his girlfriend.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a joke or they called back to it several times. So I was just really lost on that point. I'm like, what does this mean? Is it just a throwaway thing? I'm not sure.
Or was it a misdirection? Perhaps.
Well, he had to remember her name. And then asked later, and he was right. That was her name. So if he's just making a joke, it's
yeah.
But see, here's why I say, was it a misdirection? When he said Velma, her name was Velma, and she said, but her response was not, yes, my name is Velma. She says, my name is now Velma.
Which now.
So I wonder if by saying what her name was, he somehow knew the command. That's where I get the misdirection from, was, did he know that it would respond to whatever name that he was given? Not saying that Nordahl is sinister per se, and that's not but I'm just opening that avenue. I'm not saying let's go, I want to go down it. I'm just saying that just seemed odd a little bit to me. Possibly.
Yeah. Many mysteries here. Many mysteries.
All right, so go ahead.
No, I was going to say back on Nordahl, when they first get out of the TARDIS and extend the field, around the section they were in. At the first sign of danger, he's like, back to the TARDIS, and he said it several times. Just thought it was freaking hilarious how he was ready to run at the first sign of danger, and by the second or third time, even Bill was on board with him. Back to the TARDIS,
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, it's fun, but let's get out of here.
And I was looking down. We are 30 minutes into our recording, and the fact that we have mentioned Bill very little does not speak ill of Bill. She had a very important role in the story. But I think it might be safe to say that we have missed having that third person, having Nordahl, because we pretty much focused on him.
It's true. He's the one with all the mysteries here, so that makes sense. Yeah, it's funny. This is, I guess, we're finally have the luxury now that we've gotten to know who Bill really is, to sort of allow her to be the traditional damsel in distress that companions so often end up as. I mean, she's the one who got the bum suit, and there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah.
But still, she does things that are completely refreshing with it, even being in distress.
That's right.
It's
There's no screaming.
Yes, there's no screaming. There's, where do you want to go? Well, what are the reviews?
Yeah.
And that is so today.
Right,
I mean, that's what people would ask today. Oh, well, let me go check out the reviews before we go.
Yeah. Which is the whole foundation of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, too. She's reinventing that whole concept there, that there would be a Yelp for the universe.
And I think whereas Bill tends to ask the questions we want to ask, I think in this episode, Nordahl particularly was kind of stating the obvious. He was sort of like a narrator, but not really. He was just kind of stating the obvious in every situation, which I really like that as well.
Wasn't there even a line this time finally about that? Didn't the doctor say something like, "Are you going to say something that isn't the blindingly obvious?"
Something, maybe?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I need to go back and... Yeah.
When the door shut and he tried to get out, I think that's when he said that line.
Yes, yeah, I think so too.
Okay, yeah. I may actually have to jump out of this in a few minutes, guys, but and at the risk of running the conversation even longer, I wanted to back up to what I said about the fluid link because I was looking it up, and I was almost right. But this may be of interest to you. The fluid link is an essential part of the TARDIS, according to the First Doctor.
Ah, ooh.
He says that the reason why they have to stay on Skaro in the very first Dalek story is because the fluid link is run out of mercury. Well, it turns out later he's lying.
So we found out in the second story that the Doctor lies. Okay,
yeah, that's right.
Cool.
And specifically, he lies about whatever the fluid link is. So
running gag.
Running gag. That's it. This is what's happening. We are yet again calling back to the First Doctor, which
one
every
day
time it happens,
I shall come
you
back.
gotta say, yeah,
interesting.
Somehow. So I wanted to drop that in there.
All right. Well, in the event that you do have to leave us early, I want to go ahead and bounce up for you and let you say what are your preliminary final thoughts on in case you do have to jump out early.
I enjoyed this a lot. I am in a minority in our culture that I find zombies personally very boring. So I was discouraged to see that this looked like a zombie story. But but they're not zombies. They're just dead.
Yes.
And their suits are walking around. Interesting. We've had people dead inside their own space suits before. And so that was also cool, because I like the Vashta Nerada and the people that they left behind. I thought that was very scary and a lot of fun. So this managed to get into the same level of scary as Vashta Nerada without it actually being the same thing, and that's a lot of fun. But yeah, the villain in this story is space and greed. Just
the
plain
suits,
suits, yeah, who were designed, to be the instrument of corporate greed. So in this way, it kind of works like Alien, where that's a big theme. That the corporation that sent them out there, they don't care. They don't care what happens to these. And Wayland Yutani, and so that's happening here too, and I liked that. But yeah, it is. It's just a gripping story with some very real, with some good science in it. I think I wouldn't swear that all the science is right, but those stats that the doctor quotes about how long we can live in space, or in exactly what happens to us, I think that's all pretty well known. And it's always good to hear those brought out again as a reminder. Space is not something to play around with.
Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, I did. I enjoyed it a whole lot. It's a gripping story with, I think as we're discussing here, a lot of memorable lines, a lot of pithy and wonderful things get said in this script. So 3 cheers to that guy who wrote Flatline.
Yep, he did a very good job, whoever he may be.
Yeah, whatever.
I want to jump in and mention something on what you said. The monster or whatever was space. It was the suits. We did mention greed, and we did mention the corporation. For me, it is nothing more than the corporation. It's nothing more than the greed, because space is just space. It's there. We just happen to be in it if we get out in it. It's not attacking per se aggressively. It's just there, and we being the characters in that episode, were exposed to what was already there. It was already what it was. And the same thing for the suits. The suits were just like our computers that we're on were programmed to boot up when we press the power button. But the behind the scenes were the people who were worried about, and as the doctor said, the bottom line, where human life has no value at all. I thought that was very good.
So it draws a comparison, really, this script does, between the corporate people who are running this mining operation and space itself, in that when the day is done, they don't care.
Yeah.
They're just there. They don't care.
All right, so I have a question for both of you. Now, we know toward the end of the episode what happens. The doctor gives her the helmet. He walks in the vacuum of space, and he's blinded. So I want to take us back for a quick, brief moment to The Angels Take Manhattan. And in The Angels Take Manhattan, there is a weeping angel that breaks, to free herself, River's wrist is broken. And the 11th Doctor uses just a touch of regenerative energy to heal her wrist.
Yeah.
So why can he not heal his eyes?
Well, it only, if I were writing this, it would be because it only works if it's a gift.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's what I'd do. And then I would say, and I don't have to explain why it's that way either.
Sort of like how the sky opens up to give more regenerations, maybe. It just so happens.
Yeah, because it's nice.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Yeah. Good question.
And I couldn't come up with an answer.
Well, and I was still stuck on the fact that we've seen him in space without his helmet before. But And maybe the circumstances are really different. I don't know. But
or maybe he's really not blind and he's pretending to be.
The doctor lies.
The doctor lies.
Yeah. I kind of felt like it was just a huge troll, to be honest. Because the sonic screwdriver gets broken, and B, he loses his sight. So what happens when we get back in office? What do we see on his face?
The shade.
You're in luck, Clarence.
Oh my God! My most hated thing from the last season.
And he's going to have him through the whole episode next time.
Yeah, I'm presuming. I guess those are the sonic shades, but I did see the screwdriver in the clip preview, so maybe they aren't the sonic shades. I don't know, but still, I think it was a huge troll. But yeah, it worked well for the story, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't like the shades. We know I don't like the shades, so I'm right there with you. But
let me. I'm sorry.
No,
I
go
want
ahead.
to ask you guys: Are there cases in the past? I know we spoke last time about he never leaves his Sonic behind. Are there times in the past where he's broken the Sonic screwdriver before, or has gotten destroyed in some way?
Yeah, the Fifth Doctor's screwdriver was blasted by the pteroleptals, and he looks down at it there, burnt into a crisp, and he says, "I feel like I've just lost an old friend." And the sonic screwdriver does not appear again in Doctor Who until the 1996 movie.
Right. So literally, that was the classic death of the screwdriver.
Yeah. So no screwdriver for the rest of the time of the Fifth Doctor, never for the Sixth, never for the Seventh.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. And then suddenly he's got it in the movie as the Eighth Doctor.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think a lot of us, when the series was revived, we were wondering, so are they going to do the screwdriver? Yes? No? And boy, did they ever.
Yep. So, do they ever?
Yeah. We'll get a new screwdriver every time we get a new Doctor.
A whole cup full of them.
We'll sell more toys.
And you get a screwdriver.
And you just get a screwdriver. And that was a good one.
So guys, I think we're missing the best character in this episode.
And
can we just give a round of applause for the blue guy?
Oh.
The blue guy was so awesome.
Especially if you can pronounce his name. Is it Dachren? Is that right?
Oh, man. I don't think I can even try.
Wasn't it Darren?
Yeah, it's Darren.
It's Darren.
I find that racist that you would pronounce his name differently.
But some of my best friends were bluish.
Nordahl. They're all trying,
Oh, man, the point where he says, "Great, we rescued a racist," I just like, that is so great, so awesome. And, of course, Bill being a black woman, pitting her up against the blue guy, I think was just beautifully done.
Calls her racist. Well, yeah, and the beautiful thing is that she says, I'm usually on the receiving end of this. And he says, why?
What? Yeah, he doesn't get it.
Yeah. So, yeah, which makes a very nice point in itself. It's like,
yeah,
well, why would that be? You're not blue. How could you? Yeah.
And
you're blue,
and it's easy for us as a viewer to forget that these people that they're meeting assume, because of the psychic paper, that they are from their own time, not that she's from. We're assuming they're in the future. We don't know that, but I'm assuming that these people are somewhere in the future. So therefore, he doesn't even have a inkling of where Bill actually comes from. Is my point.
Yeah. And there's no explanation about where he comes from either, right?
No. Other than he's blue.
Yeah.
Have we seen aliens like that in the past?
We've seen lots of blue guys here fairly recently.
Yeah.
But I think starting in New Earth.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Now, I do know that there was like a race of blue guys, but I don't know if they were aliens. But I do know that they lived somewhere in like some village somewhere, but I can't remember where. They were like 3 apples high or 2 apples high, and like they all wore these white hats and white pants. and they sang a lot. I can't remember what they were though. Oh, corny joke.
Then you got your
Anyway.
series mixed up.
Corny joke didn't work. Never mind.
La 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 la.
La 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 la. Yeah. Sorry, that one fell. I just need to accept the fact that I'm not a comedian and just move on.
So what do you guys?
That was painful. Anyway,
No, it wasn't bad, man. It wasn't bad. So what do you guys think about? They were very adamant on killing Bill this episode. She had 2 near-death experiences, which I found weird. But yeah, she had the bad suit, like you said, Lee. And man, she just couldn't catch a break, could she?
No. And we all love her enough now that it really matters to us. We really do not want anything bad to happen to Bill. So that's good storytelling all around. I did I miss something? Did I blink when I'm not supposed to blink? But I don't understand why she was, to all appearances, dead. And then we found out that she wasn't because the suit's battery was low.
No, that made no sense to me.
Yeah, well, I think he said that the battery was low, so he knew it couldn't kill her. Is kind of his justification. But she seemed like she was out to me.
Yeah,
that's it. So yeah, I follow that part. But the suit couldn't. Yeah, but yeah, she certainly seemed she was not in control of her body.
See, and that was my thing. And her neck was contorted to the side, and it was like, okay, really?
Thing on her face as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, she did have the scar tissue or whatever after she woke up again. So I got to give them that didn't immediately just disappear.
Yeah. I thought it was great when she said, you always make jokes to distract us from whatever is trying to kill us. And he says, what are jokes for? Which I thought was great.
Yeah, that's why they exist. That's right. Yeah, and then really poignantly, tell me a joke.
Yeah. Oh man, that was hard.
That was hard to watch.
All right, so let me ask you guys a question, or let me throw another one at you. This was another line that the doctor said, and I'm not sure if he said it to Bill or if he said it to Nordahl, but something else that stood out to me in my suspicious mind was the doctor said, I try to never tell the enemy my secret plans.
Yeah.
And that just was like, okay. And I think he may have said it to when they were both around, and my thought was, is he seeing both of them as an enemy? Which I hope not, but again,
no, I think he said because of the suit he couldn't tell the plan.
Okay,
but are you saying he's seeing Bill and Nordahl as an enemy? Is what you're alluding to?
I think I'm looking too deep into it, trying to decipher perhaps a little bit too much.
Yeah, because he specifically mentioned that he didn't want to tell them what was going on because the suit would hear it.
Yeah,
good point. Good point.
So, but it's a great line, isn't it?
Yeah.
Another case of stating what would seem to be the obvious, but it's good strategy. Don't talk too much.
Yeah, that's what Trump says.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I thought that may have been very pointed because that did sound to me like something that I heard, during the last election.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So when Bill, I guess, goes unconscious, almost dies the second time, she yells for her mama.
Yeah.
And they show the picture kind of in slow motion, and the doctor pauses for a second. I found that extremely weird, though I have no idea what it's alluding to. It could be just her mom is her closest person that she can remember, even though she didn't grow up with her. It just seemed kind of weird and kind of put there on purpose or kind of forced at us for some reason. Did it seem strange to you guys at all?
Yeah, I felt a little bit like my chain was being yanked a little bit. It's all legitimate feelings, And when my time comes, I'm going to think of my mother too. But yeah, it did seem Did we miss something? What? You know?
Yeah, I'm kind of like what both of you guys said. It felt like something, but I'm not sure what something actually was. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
Weird. I mean, because as I was watching it, I noticed the picture, and my thought with watching it is, you're really throwing that picture at us a lot. And we know that she didn't have that picture until he brought that to her. So are you saying that she is fixated on the mother because she had never seen pictures and it's, like an obsession for her? But we've only seen the foster mom once in that first episode and never again since. And because the next time we see her, she's moved out with her friends, and she's got this picture. There's no picture of the foster mom, no mention of the foster mom. And that's just speculation or just trying to come up with something. But I did feel like, okay, that was kind of off, but I just couldn't, put anything on it.
Well, here's a thought. Maybe it's normal, and what the screenwriter is touching on here is that it's normal, maybe especially when we're very young, as we are dying, to think about all the things in our lives that are never going to happen, that the opportunities that are missed. And the 10th Doctor says it. And in this moment, what she's thinking of is, and I never even knew my mother.
Yeah.
This is it.
And to add on to that, that goes back to our conversation earlier and back to Mathieson's conversation about how things change. The way it is presented and directed and played by the actor may not have conveyed, that particular thought. That could have been how he wrote it, but it just didn't come across on screen like that.
That's right.
Just like we learned from him saying in Mummy on the Orient Express, when the question came up about the jelly babies, and him saying, "Oh no, I would never insult a doctor by saying a reference back to an old one because that might be an insult." But it was Capaldi who ad-libbed and did the jelly baby thing, which just was great. But that came completely from the actor, not from the writer. So maybe in the reverse, the writer may have intended, but the directing/acting didn't portray, or took it in a different direction.
Well, it's funny. My wife and I were just talking about this afternoon. It's so precarious, little moments like that it's hard in the final analysis to even figure out what makes it work or what makes it fail. That could have been a moment that made perfect sense on paper. When they were shooting it, it all looked right. Pearl Mackey's performance is perfect. You get in the editing suite and cut it together, and then they've got the music laid under it, and you watch it and you say, I don't get it. And I've seen this happen. It is the doggonest thing, and it's infuriating, but it's just, that's funny. It worked up until now. It worked up until we put everything together. And now it doesn't work anymore, So you move on and say, well, that's just part of the deal.
Good point. So let me ask both of you a question, and Clarence, I'll start with you. If you had to pick one point of this particular story where it just felt like it worked, using Lee's phrase right there, it just worked, what was your moment in this particular episode that just felt like it worked for you?
Oh man, I don't know. I'll go back to Nordahl being in this episode. It was good to see him there. It was good to hear his interactions. Again, him being Mama Nordahl to the Doctor and questioning his every move, and at least trying to keep him in step. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed him in this episode. And again, I think the blue guy was my high point, but yeah, it was good to be on a proper adventure with Nordahl and seeing him interact with the Doctor a bit more and not so much being in the shadows. I know some people hate Nordahl. I like him as a character. Yeah, I've heard several people say they don't like him that much, but yeah, he's a great character, and I really enjoyed him in this episode.
All right, Lee, what was your it moment that it just worked?
Wow, I'm not sure if there's a moment, a single thing that really clicked for me. I did realize probably about halfway through that this is Doctor Who doing what it has always done best, which is the base under siege. If fans of the classic series know we've done this a million times. There's no way out of this situation, and the bad guys are in here with us. And the calls coming from inside the building. Yeah. And this is just another one of those base under siege stories. But it didn't. The fact that it took me 30 minutes in for it to really hit me. We're doing the formula again. Speaks very well of the novelty of the situation and the cleverness of the writing throughout. But it is part of the base under siege formula is that we've got several people that we're going to get to know well, and then we're going to start watching them die. And I think this script did that very effectively. You get to where you start forming loyalties with characters, and you say, well, somebody's going to die next. I just hope it's not that guy. No, it's that guy.
Oh man, they did that to me with the blue guy.
They did, yeah. And I was like, well, not him. No.
Yeah.
And the blue guy got he was gone quick. So, I kind of wish he would have stayed around more.
Yeah.
Well, for me, my it moment, or where it just worked, was back to the quote where he says, I'll do everything within my power. That just really, really worked for me because it gave me another quotable. I want to learn that quote, Doctor Who. So, considering the fact that we're coming up on 55 minutes, let me go ahead and give my thought of the particular episode, and then I'll turn it over to Clarence. So my final thought, which would be, did I enjoy this episode? Absolutely, I enjoyed it. Did I enjoy it better than Knock Knock? I absolutely enjoyed it better than Knock Knock. Forget the fact that we had an opportunity to, be in a presentation with Jamie Mathieson. Forget all of that. It was just a very solid, enjoyable episode that is one that I don't think that I would shy away from even watching again. Whereas with Knock Knock, we said that before, I have no desire to see bugs crawling around and will not be going back and watching bugs crawling around. Having Nordahl, be a active participant within the story, not just left in the TARDIS and coming out just here and there as he did in the first episode. Having Bill, be front and center. Having the Doctor actually participate in a not two-person hug, but a group hug. I thought that was brilliant. So I'm going to give it a strong. Was the story my favorite? No, maybe, because I like more event stories. So I'm going to give it a very strong 4.25. That more leaning to 4.5, but 4.25. So Clarence.
Yeah, and as for me, I echo everything you said. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to put it around 4.5. Again, anytime they're in space or away from Earth, I really enjoyed the episodes, and this was an exception. I loved it as well. Just to come with a quote for Kyle, as he's been quoting all episode. I'll say one of my other favorite ones was one of the workers said, he locked us out of the subroutine. And then the Doctor says, oh, I just thought I was tweeting. So
yeah, that was good. Yeah.
2 thumbs up for that one. And
and I wonder what time it was in space, just out of curiosity. I wonder if it was whenever he was doing that. I'm just curious if it was. Now, this joke is actually going to work. I wonder if it was like 2 or 3 a.m. whenever he was doing it.
What are you talking about?
Because you said he thought, when he locked out of the subroutines, just wondering. Who knows? It was, but I do know it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, but I really enjoyed this episode. There's but aside from the thing I said about why Nordahl didn't give Bill his helmet rather than the doctor, other than that, I really didn't have any problems with it. But I did want to pose one last question to you guys. Again, I'm giving a 4.5 to it. But my question is, has the doctor been physically impaired in any of the other episodes in times past or classic?
Lee?
Physically impaired. Yeah, not blinded like that or anything. I mean, apart from the times when he's been dying and,
Yeah.
Or freshly regenerated.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I guess he's lost an arm before.
True.
That's right. It grows right back in, I can't really think of anything.
And it's interesting for what I'm going back to, considering what we said earlier. The only time that I could ever say that there was an impairment other than what we just said, I go all the way back to the first Doctor, and I do know toward the end of his run, especially in the 10th Planet, ironically enough, there was times, a couple of episodes that he really wasn't in because of he being Hartnell was too sick to actually record it, and they said the doctor was resting. So
right. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, Lee, you didn't give an opportunity. I mean, you talked about what you thought, but you didn't give us a number rating. So what's your rating on that?
I like your 4.25. I think that's where I'm going to go too. I'm with Clarence. I love it whenever we're not on Earth, and this wasn't even on a planet. So we've, and now that I think about it, we've had lots of space stations over the years, and I guess I always like it when we're on a space station. So that's cool. Gripping story, lots of interesting characters, powerful dynamic, and the conflict between these characters. The thing about Bill being clearly dead and then being brought back from the dead by a line of dialogue does bug me, though, and it makes me want to see it again and see if I just, But it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like, we've talked about this before. This is a pet peeve of mine over the last couple of years of the show is. Having somebody have a meaningful death and then negating that by then just bringing them back again. And I'm not talking about anybody in particular.
Sure you aren't.
Just, yeah. So, I would have, of course, been heartbroken if Bill had actually died in this episode. I don't want her to die. But yeah, we have to treat death a little more seriously than this, or it will cease to lose its power in the storytelling, and we don't want that. So there you go. But yeah, what fun! Just a fun episode. So,
all right, well, guys, do you have any other thoughts before we get into the closing part of our show?
Not for me.
All right.
None at all.
All right. Well, we want to know what you guys think. So if you're listening and want to let us know what you think about Oxygen or Doctor Who Series 10 in general, let us know, and let us know what you think, because we want to hear about it. You can send us a voice clip if you would like. You can record it on your smartphone, and you can send that to discussingwho@gmail.com. You can also record a voice message, a voicemail on our voicemail line, which is 805-850-3946. Again, that number is 805-850-3946. And if you're on Facebook, and which I think most people are now, look us up, because I think most people, my mother has Facebook, and sometimes just makes me want to tell people when she gets on Facebook, she's not been hacked. She's not been hacked. She's not been hacked. And just FYI.
That really is her. Yeah.
So look us up on Facebook. It is at facebook.com/discussing who. And you can also send us a message and even attach a voice clip onto the message, and we'll respond to you as quickly as possible. So I've got a couple of questions before we go. Lee, what are you working on?
I am busy writing the scripts for episodes 11 through 20 of Relativity, which we speak about on this show sometimes, and I always appreciate the support you guys have given this from the very beginning, from before the beginning. Speaking of Facebook, I'm stuck right now. Relativity has 96 likes on Facebook, which is infuriatingly close to 100, and it's bugging me. So I'm making an appeal to people who listen to the show. If you haven't been to, facebook.com/Relativity Podcast, please go there and review the show. I'd like some more of these stars. That would be cool too, But like us, please. We want to be liked.
Okay,
And if you've never heard the show, relativitypodcast.com.
Oh, I like how you said that. And I'm going to piggyback and steal that idea because we have 83. He has 96. So let's give him a competition and let's see who can, even though variables say that he will get there before we do, help us reach 100.
We've been stuck for a long time. So, yeah. Okay, so everybody, more love for everybody is what we're saying.
Exactly. Spread it around. Yeah. And also another Facebook page that we can visit, and I'll let Clarence tell you what it is.
He's probably talking about Tech Edition, but I will not say, don't even worry about going there. What I really want you to do is, what I really want you to well, I'm going to be anti right here a little bit. What I really want you to do is, if you're coming out to the Southern Geek Fest this weekend in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, instead of like me on the page, which I would love, but you should also do too, come and give me a handshake and tell us how much you like Discussing Who or Tech Petition or the Relativity Podcast. Just come talk to us. We want to hear from our fans if you're out there. So we hope to see you down at the Southern Geek Fest in Hattiesburg. What about you, Kyle?
Well, speaking of, I'll piggyback once again off of something that you said. Speaking of Southern Geek Fest, we don't know what day yet, but it looks like it's going to be Sunday. From all accounts, we will have an actual Doctor Who panel. So, yes, absolutely, come out, shake our hands. We definitely want to meet you. But if you're around on Sunday afternoon and you're looking for something to do and you see the panel room and look for us, and a hint back to the Facebook page, as soon as we know when that particular panel time is going to be, we will post it on the Facebook page. So we would definitely like to meet you. So absolutely, that's what I'm working on. We've got that coming up this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, guys, do you have anything else?
No.
Good to go.
All right.
No.
Well, good
Looking
deal.
forward to next week.
Absolutely. Because I have a hinkering that in our review next week that I will get the opportunity to say something nice.
Say something nice?
Yes. So, again, thanks, everybody, for listening and spending some of your time with us. We definitely appreciate you taking some time out of your day, your morning, your evening, your afternoon, or whenever it might be. So, on behalf of everyone here at Discussing Who, we are out of here.
You've been listening to the Discussing Who podcast. Discussing Who is made by fans for fans. No copyright infringement is intended. Show us you're fans of the show by liking us on Facebook, following us on Twitter. You can find us on the web at www.discussingwho.com. Want more Discussing Who? Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Player FM, the Doctor Who Podshock Alliance, and more. Send us your feedback to discussingwho@gmail.com, or if you'd like, simply record a voice message and send that to us via your smartphone, tablet, or computer. We want to hear from you.